Hello everyone, you're about to hear a short retelling of the movie Ip Man. Enjoy the movie. In the 30-something years of the 20th century, Foshan Province has become the country's center for kung fu training. Master Lu has just opened his school and offers Master Yip Man to compete in battle. But first, his hospitable master feeds him dinner in the company of his family. Finally, it's time for the fight, which will take place behind closed doors so that no one will know the winner's name. However, his witness is a kid named Yuan, who climbed up a tree to get his kite. The Wing Chun martial arts master leaves his opponent no chance. And soon he finds himself lying on the floor, seemingly not even realizing how it happened. Master Lu once again specified that no one should know about his defeat. But thanks to the boy, the whole neighborhood was soon talking about how badly he had been hurt. Lu's own students have also come to learn about this situation. In a restaurant, a businessman and close friend, Epoch Wang, offers to invest in starting a cotton factory. An embarrassed Liu bursts into the scene. He lashes out at Yuan, accusing him of destroying his reputation. However, Yuan doesn't see anything wrong with it, as he merely told the truth. His older brother Lin attempts to subdue the truth-teller. Police Captain Li arrives at the scene and expresses his resentment, questioning why martial arts are needed when they have guns. Right away, Ip Man knocks the drum out of his revolver and tells him not to draw the weapon unnecessarily from now on. Quan receives money from Ip Man and also requests him to accept his son as a student. Lin switches martial arts teachers frequently and boasts to Ip about learning new moves. However, against the master, his skills are ineffective. Mrs. Yip is frustrated that her husband spends all day fighting and neglects the family. Some ragamuffins arrive on the street of martial arts. Their leader, Jin, issues a challenge to one of the teachers for a duel. He viciously defeats the man, knocking him out cold. The next Sifu appears and quickly retreats behind the students. He manages to grab a guandao, or Chinese glaive, but is unable to face Jin with the sword. Just as Ib was planning to spend some time with his family, Lin interrupted him and informed him about the visiting masters. For some time, Mr. Lu, whom we already know, held off Jin's fierce attacks, but eventually he was defeated. The struggling man defeats all the masters one by one, so he decides to open his own school to escape poverty. However, the Noodleman advises him to first defeat the best, Ip Man. A large crowd marches to the great master's house and rudely invades his home. Initially, Ip Man refuses, but Jin begins to scratch his tongue, which irritates even the restrained Madame Yip, and she gives the go-ahead for a fight in the house. Just then, a policeman shows up at the house, but he doesn't want to prevent the fight. He asks Yip to defend the honor of the town. Jin scoffs and laughs at the fact that Wing Chun was invented by a woman. But Yip Man replies to him that what matters is skill, not gender or age. During the fight, the kid rides out on his bike and tells his father to get things sorted out quickly or else everything in the house will be broken and his mom will be upset. In fact, that's what Ip Man does. After a series of punches, he sends Jin flying with a kick and knocks him out. But regaining his senses, the villain grabs his sword. However, the broomstick suffices for Ip Man's defense. He strikes Jin with it, and Jin admits that Ip Man's southern kung fu is stronger than his northern kung fu. The crowd claps and celebrates the local master's victory. Everyone in town is thrilled, even the vendors don't charge for their goods. There's also a rumor in town that Master Yip wants to open a school, but he denies it, as he doesn't like to mess around with students. In 1938, the Japanese army captured Foshan, destroyed factories and homes, and thus deprived the inhabitants of their livelihood. From 300,000, the Japanese reduced the city's population to 70,000. Ip Man's house was confiscated and turned into a Japanese army headquarters. He and his family found themselves homeless. In exchange for a bag of rice, he gives away one of his last valuables, a wristwatch. At the Groats distribution point, the man meets Quan. His factory is one of 12 that were not destroyed by the Japanese, but he can't give the money to Yip yet. The master refuses to dine with his friend and hurries to his family. When everything was mortgaged or sold, IP went to look for work for the first time in his life. He gets a favor and is hired to work in a coal mine. The mine owner was also skilled in martial arts, which is why he prefers hiring former masters. There, he encounters an old acquaintance, Lin. During lunch, IB secretly saves food for his family, prompting Lin to share his own meal with him. The boy feels sorrowful about losing his brother since the invasion started. Colonel Sato makes an entrance at the mine with former policeman Lee by his side, who is now employed by the Japanese as an interpreter. He searches for kung fu masters to fight the Japanese karateka. At first no one responded, but when it became clear that the reward was a bag of rice, many laborers volunteered at once, including Lin. On the tatama, Master Lu had just emerged victorious in the battle, for which he received the promised sack of rice. After that, General Miura calls 3 men to fight at once, with each man getting his own rice. Lin and 2 other fighters stood up, and Miura quickly dispersed all 3 men. The 2 Chinese eventually decided not to stand up anymore, choosing to admit defeat. However, Lin was the only one who continued the fight, even going as far as to spit blood in Miura's face. Because of this act, the general brutally beat the guy to death. The following day, Yip discovered the box that Lin had lost earlier, but he never saw Lin himself. To uncover what happened to the guy, Yip agreed to go out and fight today. After receiving another bag of rice, the overconfident Master Lu expressed his wish to fight against 3 karateka simultaneously. Regrettably, he misjudges his strength and is swiftly punished by the 3 karateka. He halts the fight and relies on his earlier victory, but Colonel Sato deceitfully shoots him. Miura warns the colonel, ensuring this won't happen again. A furious Ip Man steps into the arena, demanding to face 10 fighters simultaneously. The 10 karateka assault the kung fu master, and this time, Ip Man's punches are significantly more powerful than in earlier battles. He destroys opponents, breaking jaws and legs. The same fate happens to the last fighter still standing. 10 sacks of rice are waiting for the winner, but he did not come here just for rice. He came to defeat the Japs, and he plans to return. However, Miura was thrilled. "What's your name? I'm merely Chinese." Later, he gets a police interpreter for serving the occupiers. A sorrowful Ip Man returns home, and his wife tends to his injured fists. Ip Man reflects deeply on how his skills have become useless and how miserable the world around him truly is. Meanwhile, Jin has organized a gang, which includes Lin's younger brother Yuan. Jin steals a truck and then breaks into Quan's factory. He offers the businessman a chance to buy back the cargo they just stole. The bandits chase down Quan and his son, but it doesn't matter since he doesn't have the money to pay them anyway. The kid rushes to Yip for help, but the master has no time to assist, as the bandits have already departed with the goods. Quan and all the factory workers ask IP to teach them kung fu so that they can stand up for themselves in the future. This time, the great master does not refuse. Foshan residents of all ages come to the training. They repeat the movements after their teacher. IP Man himself started working part-time at the factory. Meanwhile, General Miura is outraged that LP Man never returned. The interpreter lies that he doesn't know where IP Man is, and he is severely beaten. He does bring Colonel Sato to the master, who was already heading towards his pretty wife for some reason, but was beaten up, as were the Japanese soldiers accompanying him. After this, the family has to flee. The translator is beaten again, this time with a raspalka. Miura orders that Ip Man be found. It turns out that a repentant Chinese man is hiding the family at his place. IP is very grateful to him. Bandits come to the factory again. The workers are extremely agitated, and they are prepared to fight back using their Wing Chun skills. However, in reality, it's not as simple to fight as it seems, and the women end up getting beaten by the racketeers. Then, IP Man arrives and manages to fend off the women. The other thugs pull out axes to attack him, yet it proves useless. Master Wing Chun skillfully blocks and dodges every blow. He is far quicker than all these thugs. Only Jin and Yuan remain, but due to the bamboo pole, they can't even approach the master. The ringleader suffers a serious injury to his ear and manages to escape with his gang. Ibe stops Yuan, firmly instructing him to do the right thing and gives him his deceased brother's iron box. When the boy opens it, he discovers his folded kite inside. The translator warns EPA against going back to the factory, as Miura is already there waiting for him. The Japanese forces take all the workers outside for questioning. Kwang is the first one to be interrogated. To stop the execution, Ip Man immediately surrenders. Sato was about to shoot the Chinese, but the general stops him. The master can save his life if he agrees to teach kung fu to Japanese soldiers. IP, of course, refuses, but challenges Miura to a fight. Ip is led away, and as he leaves, he asks Quan to get his family out of town. Sato again proposes to simply execute IPP. But for Miura to defeat Master Winshin is a matter of honor, and he is going to announce his victory to the whole of China. The general himself comes to the Chinese man's cell carrying a tray filled with food. He desires the fight to be fair and wants IPPE to be well fed, but IP firmly refuses to take food from the enemy. To prevent Ipo's wife from resisting, Quan binds her. The woman sobs, fearing she may never see her husband again. Lee announces that a fair duel will be conducted to promote the sharing of knowledge, friendship, and to establish enduring peace between the countries. A convoy leads Ip Man away. The previous day, Sato had visited him in his cell and threatened to shoot him if he dared to win the fight. John came to watch the momentous confrontation. The fight begins. The fighters successfully block each other's punches, but IP Man is still more skillful and sometimes punches the Japanese. Miura briefly takes the initiative after a throw, but quickly loses it. As best he can, the Japanese tries to defend against IP Man's trademark hammer fist. Now nearly every strike from a kung fu master harms the general. Miura's body slowly becomes battered, and eventually he collapses. The Chinese crowd cheers, chanting the master's name. His Ike Wan family emerges from the crowd, having returned to Foshan. Suddenly, IP Man is shot by Sato and faints as he falls. The Chinese rise up, and the translator uses Sato's gun against him. Amidst the chaos, IP Man escapes with his family to Hong Kong. In 1945, the Japanese capitulate. In 1949, Ip Man opened the first Wing Chun school. Among his students were many talented people, the most famous of whom was Bruce Lee.